Hey, what's happening, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Let There Be Talk. It's Monday, October 6th. Rocktober. Rocktober, yeah. Rocktober, light the candles of Rocktober. Oh, man. How are you guys? I had a great weekend. How was your weekend? It was about 104 degrees all day, every day this weekend here in Hollywood, Los Angeles. I was all over. I was at Irvine Improv all weekend with Mr. Jay Moore and the Warriors. Warriors, come out and play. Man, that was awesome at the Irvine Improv. They got a new one out there. I did it last month with Eric Griffin. It's back there this month. And the thing's just beautiful. They made a full-on like monster theater there. It holds 600. They got burgers. Great food, a mommy burger. Man, it was epic. Great weekend. Anytime I work with Jay Moore, it just blows me away how fucking cool the guy is. Just the nicest dude. He's like, do whatever you want, have fun, rock, destroy it, you know? Just how it should be. The guy does it right, man. So thanks, Jay Moore, for having me all weekend. Thanks anybody that might be tuning in your first time that met me over the weekend. I had some of the new Del Razor stickers. People were loving it. I've got those. They're in my hand. So I'll see you guys out there. And I'll hand some off to you. Let's see here. This guest today is monumental to me. I can't even begin to say the impact that this guy and his band has had on my entire life, Mr. Duff McKagan. To say I could talk to this guy for hours would be putting it lightly. We just scratched the surface. It's a long interview, but I realize when you have somebody on your show that is, this just, I don't even know what to say, that somebody that means this much to me, that records they've made, Guns N' Roses, it's fucking crazy because you're just like, I've known Duff for years, but you never sit down and talk to people. You're on the fly. You're at a club, you're at a gig, you're at an event. You're not sitting there going, hey, tell me about that time when you're doing Rocket Queen. It just doesn't happen. And if it did, you'd be cut off right away. Like, hey, man. And sometimes I get like that. I get it, man, because I'm just a fan. And people, I think, mistake big time. And Jonah Ray and I were talking about this a couple episodes. They mistake, like, my love for Guns N' Roses with being some kind of, rock buffoon or something. Because, everybody knows those guys that just walk around like, yeah, music sucks now. It wasn't like back then in the day. I hear a lot of people say that. It's weird. They'll say stuff like, if I post a photo from the old days, they'll go, oh, the good old days. And I don't subscribe to that, man. I mean, yesterday, this weekend, last weekend, 3 weekends ago, are fucking just incredible as 1988 CNGNR to me. I mean, and if they're not to you, man, go out and fucking make some shit happen. Enjoy your life, man. You're only here once. If you're not digging it and you're living in the past, fuck, man, change that. It's easy to do. I know it's hard. I say it's easy to do. It is fucking hard. I get it. But make some adjustments or something, man. Seek some stuff out that gives you memories right now next week when you look back and go, man, that was a great fucking weekend. Anyway, Duff, man, I can't even thank the guy enough, man. I hounded him like an idiot. But we went over to the Valley. He was at the Queens of the Stone Age studio, which is funny because I got John Theodore coming on next Monday, and he had described the Queens of the Stone Age studio to me, and then boom, there I am in it. Life is so fucking weird. I truly believe that your journey is mapped out and way ahead of time. You know, somehow you just get on these paths. I'm getting all goofy and spiritual, but man, I just feel, I mean, when I was talking to Duff, the art of that record, Appetite, is insane to me, and it affects people all different ages. My buddy Chris, he was telling me about how he wrote Duff a letter when they're going to be in the Hall of Fame and sent it to me. He said, look, I wrote Duff a letter hoping that the original lineup would get back together. And Duff read it on something. My advertiser, the guy that does my art, the new stickers, he found out that it was a Duff episode. He was losing his mind. Corey Wallace, he was like, oh my God, you got to have catatonic advertisement on that episode. So, I mean, it just, GNR affects people all different ways. It's a monumental Hollywood record. Of course, I'm on like 118 episodes. I've probably talked about the record on every episode. People are like, yeah, we get it, you like it. But you got to understand, man, when the record came out, fucking the earth moved, man. It came out, it was just danger. It was our doors. And as I was talking to Duff, he said something so fucking cool. I said, why'd you move to L.A.? Was it Motley Crue? Was it that shit? And he goes, nah, man, I wasn't into that. You know, I was moving to L.A., and whatever was going to be next was going to be us. Meaning, you know, whoever he was going to hook up with, they were going to be the next movement. And he felt that. And, man, he was right. You know, and, you know, the shit lasted. It was a short time. If you really look at it in a long life, it was a short period of time. It came, it's gone. And it's like Zeppelin. I don't need the reunion. I was there. If Zeppelin got back together, the people that were there are going to say the same thing that I would say about GNR. They would say, it's, you know, it's good, but it's just, you had to be there. You know? So find your group that you love. I mean, I love Rival Sons right now. I go see Rival Sons. They're fucking smoking, man. There's music out there that's just killing right now. So yeah, man. You know? Anyway, we talked. We were over in the Valley at the Queens of the Stone Age studio. And the thing that really hit me as I was leaving there, I was thinking about how much fucking rock has been made in the Valley. The studios there, the shitty warehouses, the rehearsal rooms, the band apartments, everything over the history of rock. I wonder if you broke it down, really broke it down and said how many of these songs were wrote from Van Nuys to Studio City or Burbank. You know, I mean, a lot of goddamn songs. I mean, it's so crazy. Like, Hollywood is where you go play and show the art, but the shit is created in these garbage can places in the Valley that where you can make noise, you know, under that flight pattern of the Burbank Airport, man. There's just a wasteland of warehouses out there that you don't know what's going on, man. There's a famous rehearsal studio called Mates where Velvet Revolver rehearsed, and everyone's rehearsed there. But it's just in the middle of you get there and you go, this is it? And then at the end of the day, you realize that's all you need. You need to be able to make noise without someone knocking on the fucking door and going, hey, man, I'm going to call the cops. That's what you need. And you need a liquor store close. That is the formula of rock. Liquor store, a place you can turn up till 4 or 5 in the morning, and some complete freedom to make art. And the Valley is loaded with that, man. And I clown the Valley all the time, but it really hit me. I was like, hey, fucking hats off to the Valley, huh? Just for letting the rock and whatever else out there, all the screenwriters. And, you know, I remember Paul Haggis said he moved here and lived in the Valley and you know, worked on scripts, Crash and all that shit. people land in the valley. It's cheap, and then they do all their creative work out there. And either you strike gold or you burn out there. So, yeah, hats off to the valley. We talked a lot of great stuff. I'm going to get right to it. If you really want to know the magnitude of Guns N' Roses, I've tweeted it many times, but go to YouTube and just type in Live at the Ritz, and that's probably one of the most potent, dangerous performances of a rock band you're going to see in a long time. Live at the Ritz, Guns N' Roses. I love you, Duff, man. I know you think I'm crazy, but you're a fucking warrior, and you're exactly the type of people I was around back in the day that just only were here for one thing, and that was to play music. And thank you, man. I owe you big time, and we're going to do a part 2. But enjoy this, guys. Right before I get into the episode, I just want to give a shout out to my sponsors. Today we got Earthquaker Devices. I absolutely love them. They were here all weekend in Van Nuys at the AMP show, showing off their boutique pedals. Check out all their stuff, earthquakerdevices.com. Hit up Julie and talk to her about getting some discounts on some pedals. They make boutique pedals, guitar pedals, bass pedals. They also are in the middle of doing a special thing, which is very cool. It's Auction for Andy. And I want you guys to take a look at this. I told Julie I would shout this out for you. Andrew Richardson, he was a sales manager at ZVEX Effects. He passed away, so they're doing a auction benefit for him. Please check it out, reverb.com. Give that a look, will you? For Earthquaker Devices and Julie and everybody there. Go to reverb.com and check out this auction for Andy, trying to raise some money for his wife and his 3-year-old son, Bronson. So check that out, please, guys. A little serious note. Also, my other fantastic sponsor that I mentioned a minute ago, Catatonic. Catatonic.com. They're your art kings. They just made my new Del Razor sticker. These guys are art gods. You got to look at it, man. They'll help you with any kind of art vision you have, which is really cool. They're having a Del Razor contest right now. Go to the website, catatonic.com. That's CADATONIC.com, and look at the Del Razor contest. They're giving away some free Del Razor 3D artwork. I mean, how fucking cool is that? These guys are great, man. It's great to have them on because they're into Robert Williams and all that kind of art, and that's, Guns N' Roses tie in there. They had Robert Williams' album cover, Appetite for Destruction. So check it out. Talk to my man over there, Corey Wallace. Email him, CoreyWallace@gmail.com, and get some stickers or whatever you need. Album covers, artwork, anything. That's about it. Going to be out there in the comedy world. I'll be out with Bill Burr October 11th, Palm Springs at the 29 Spotlight Hotel. That's going to be badass. And also this month, Let There Be Talk is the featured podcast on all things comedy. So thank you, Bill Burr and Al Madrigal. My podcast is the featured podcast this month of Rocktober. And I guess that's about it. I love you guys. I can't thank you enough. Enjoy this episode. It's one of my favorites. I just can't believe it. Thank you, Duff. Here he is, Duff McKagan. Yeah, here we are. Another episode of Let There Be Talk. Got a great guest today. I've been trying to get you on for a while now. A couple years. Duff McKagan, how are you?
But you tweet me to try to get a hold of me. That's just not the best way to get a hold of me, man.
No, I had your phone number, but you were
we finally got that on the Jay Moore show.
Yeah, it's true.
You were tweeting me.
Well, you gave me an email like a year ago.
All the time, dude.
You gave me an email and I was hitting you and you were gone all summer.
Oh.
Right?
No, I was just ignoring your emails.
That's all right. I would ignore my email too, man. Right? You're like, this fucking guy just mobs you. I met you at Motley. We're at Motley at the. I met you a long time ago, but I'm saying refired up at Motley at Jimmy Kimmel.
Oh yeah,
right. We're there. Mm-hmm. They're playing their sign-off gig, and then I ask you to do it.
Right.
And then you give me your email. And
I did.
And then I chased you for a year.
That wasn't a year ago.
I know. How long has it been?
Don't over-dramatize these things, man.
Hey, I'm trying to add drama to this. Make it look like I finally got you.
Here's what happened. I think the next day after that Motley Jimmy Kimmel thing, I was off to Europe.
Yep.
I believe. And I get emails and stuff. Anybody who's trying to get a hold of me when I'm in Europe, here's the story. It's 9 hours ahead. Usually looking for Wi-Fi. If I don't have Wi-Fi, I'm not going to turn my phone on, and I can't check my emails. So when I get to the venue, the first thing you do is you look for Wi-Fi. Now, the first people I'm going to respond to are going to be my wife and my kids. And I got maybe 2-3 hours on Wi-Fi there.
Yeah. It's not going to be me for the podcast first?
There's just so many other things going on at that point.
Yeah, I know.
We got 325 kilometers to travel. Got to figure out when I'm going to sleep in the thing, and then I've got to keep in touch with home. So you would think I'd be better at this. I've toured for long enough that I would seem like I'm not gone at all.
Yeah,
but it's impossible. I don't know how to do that. There's got to be some service.
Well,
okay.
Yeah, you got to have you have to have Wi-Fi or you're fucked. Or else it's $1 million.
Wi-Fi is key. Yeah. I won't turn on my phone. That's a rookie move. That's like a new guy on tour rookie move. It used to be there was always some crew guy who had a back when it was just phones.
Yeah.
No email or texting, all that stuff. When it was hotel phones, there was always that crew guy who would call from the hotel phone, like the room. He was having a problem with his chick back home. All he'd do was fight and argue.
Yeah.
And
$7,000 argument.
Yeah. We've all heard of that crew guy.
Yeah.
Get off tour and he owed money. Yeah. So that's kind of like the rookie move. You don't want to do that with your BlackBerry out there.
Yeah.
In Europe.
That blue BlackBerry really changed touring. Because now it was just always on the fly,
Cell phones changed touring.
Yeah, it did. But I'm saying it was better with, if you're in a venue like a stadium, you're like, dude, where are you? I'm in the back over here, section 9. You know what I mean? No calls. It's loud. Yeah. Concerts. That was incredible.
Yeah.
And then, everyone had that. And then the side wheel would wear out. Remember that?
Yeah.
The side wheel.
Now, the only people I'm really interested in, I have a BlackBerry and I have communication, but there's only a few people that, for me, at a venue, it's still my wife, my daughters, Mick Bob.
Yeah.
That's about it.
That's
Mick Bob,
hilarious.
my bass tech, and that's about it.
Mick Bob, how long has he been with you?
87.
87. Dude, I know that guy for, how long is that, 30 years or something?
27.
27 years I've known this guy. McButt, we're talking about his tech who lived in Santa Rosa. His brother, Tom, worked for the band.
Tom Mayhew.
Great story. Many times backstage at GNR. But I was at the RIP party. GNR.
What was that? That Scream
Yeah,
Club?
yeah. And I was on the side of the stage, and Axel came over and said, give me a smoke. And I went to light it, and Tom pushed me down the stairs because there was oxygen going. I didn't know. He goes, hey, give me a smoke. I go, hey, there's oxygen. And I flew down the stairs. It was a nightmare.
Tom is your boyhood friend.
No, Mike. I didn't know Tom. I knew Mike. And it was his brother. I was like, fuck that guy, man. It was. I didn't even want to light a cigarette. But the man was asking. So, okay, to say that...
I would have done the same thing. Hey, you got a light?
Yeah, right. You're not looking at oxygen. You know what I mean? Oxygen is not rock to me. You just pass out.
Right.
Right?
That's rock.
That's rock, dude. I'm fucking with it. 87. So, to say that band was my favorite band would be an understatement. You know what I mean? I remember I first see the band at the Stone, the EP... is out. I might get.
You saw us at the Stone?
Yeah. I used to book the Stone
on Broadway.
Yeah, I did. I played in a band and rolled with Mike's boys, Vane.
Yeah.
And earlier than that, the bands like Roadrunner, Le Mans. The Ground Zero of Metallica, all that whole street across the street, Mabuhay.
Yep. I played the Mabuhay in punk rock bands. They had Tuesday night was spaghetti night there.
Yeah.
So you would try to play either like Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday because it was like free spaghetti.
The owner just died like a month ago,
Wow.
Ness, which I can't believe. I didn't know he was still alive.
Yeah.
But he died. Man, that guy was genius, right? He has a Vietnamese restaurant. Then
right.
Books a couple punk bands, and next thing you know, it's the CBGB of the West Coast.
Yeah. Yep. And the on Broadway above it.
That thing was just cocaine.
Shows. Was it?
Well, it just felt. Yeah, it was just always like the guys that ran it. It was that was wild.
Yeah, it was a tough little in the early '80s. It was
early '80s.
Tough little neighborhood.
That was a great fucking corner. You got Mabuhay on Broadway and the Stone.
Yeah.
And then all these seedy sailor strip joints.
Yes.
The Carol Doda's, the Condor, all those weird strip joints for
like
sailors.
That San Francisco porn scene.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know anything about. Yeah, we'd go down and play from Seattle. We'd go and play in San Francisco a bunch. And then when Guns N' Roses played the Stone the first time, I was really familiar with that whole little strip because I'd played in so many punk rock bands down there. And I think when we booked that first tour of ours, which we had to hitchhike because our car broke down in Bakersfield.
That's hilarious.
We hitchhiked from Bakersfield to Seattle.
To do the gigs?
That was our first gig was Seattle. It was going to be Seattle, Portland, Eugene, Sacramento, San Francisco, and L.A.
The first GNR run.
Yes. We made it to Seattle. We hitchhiked there, and our car, the guy who was with our car and trailer said, I'll get it fixed here in Bakersfield, and I'll just, you guys hitchhike, and I'll get up there.
And you actually fucking got there?
We got there.
Like dudes picked you guys up?
We paid a truck driver. We had $37 between us. We paid a truck driver. He took us as far as Medford. So that was a big chunk.
Way up to Oregon, yeah.
Yeah. But he was on speed, and it was really interesting. That trip with him was insane. If I were to do it now, I would get the fuck out of the truck.
Yeah.
But we were young, and then from Medford, we got like a variety of rides. We got in the back of some guy's pickup, and it was like a Datsun pickup, and it was like a Mexican farmer guy.
Yeah.
And he was really sweet to pick us up, and we looked like hell, I'm sure. And at the back, like the bed was rubbing the back of his tire of his truck, and I'm sorry, guys, you're breaking my truck. But then a couple these chicks passed us. They were women. To us, they seemed like older women.
How old are you guys? 22?
We were 20.
Yeah, 20.
So these girls were probably about 34, and they had passed us. Apparently they got off the off ramp, came back and got us because they said we were scared of you guys at first, but we hitchhiked as hippies and people wouldn't pick us up because of the way we looked, and we thought we're just doing the same thing to you guys. Wow. So they came back and got us. They had a covered, like regular American-sized pickup. They bought us a 6-pack of beer, some sandwiches. It was like the saving angels.
Wow.
I don't know who they are to this day.
Wow.
I don't, and they took us all the way to Portland, which was a big chunk. We had.
That'd be so great if you actually found them. You know what I mean? Because
they saved us. And we, then my friend came down from Seattle to Portland, picked us up, and we made the show used some other people's gear.
Where was the show at?
It was at a place called the Guerrilla Gardens.
Oh, yeah, all right.
We opened for a band I used to be in called the Fastbacks.
Right. Yeah, you played drums in the Fastbacks?
Yeah. So we used their gear.
You played drums and then bass?
It's kind of a mixture because I think I might have learned drums and guitar and bass kind of simultaneously as a kid.
Right.
Not one sticks out to me like I learned guitar first. I probably learned 3 guitar chords first. If I remember, I learned like G and A and D, and then one of my brothers had me play some school thing with him, and played Today's Your Birthday. He showed me that song. On
Right.
bass. Ba-na-na-na. Well, there's the blues scale.
Yeah.
Okay, the 1-4-5
Yeah.
blues scale. There it is. That's really all I went with for the next 18 years.
That's all you need.
So all I needed. Guns N' Roses all blues.
Yeah,
major blues scales and
Major blues scale.
yeah. And drums. There was a drum kit around, and I just kind of learned to play drums. Same time.
And when you're playing at Seattle, who was playing? Was it Green River? Is that too early?
That's later. That was later. So
who's around during then?
So when I was a kid, the first punk rock posters I saw, which really was the Mentors, the Lewd,
Oh yeah,
the Enemy, and DOA.
right.
So DOA became our kids.
Early '80s.
Late 70s.
Oh, late '70s.
Yeah.
Mentors around late '70s.
Mentors started, I think, in 76.
Wow.
Yeah.
Saw
so
Mentors.
they were older. They were much older. El Duce, and they were, that was the old crowd. And DOA was, if you're from Seattle into the punk rock thing, DOA was like Kiss.
Yeah.
They were bigger than life, and although Kiss was like Kiss too, but
Yeah, right. They were just huge for the punk rock.
yeah, and but the cool thing about punk rock, I grew up I saw Zeppelin and I saw Kiss and I saw the big shows, and then suddenly punk rock, I saw the Clash and there was 125 people there, and they were sort of like one of you.
Yeah.
They didn't differentiate.
It wasn't rock star.
It wasn't. It was it was approachable. This is
Right.
our band, and you felt like you could identify with that guy playing on stage as before the arena stuff. They were on so far away, and so that was really it was a big attraction there for me as a 13-year-old kid.
Just having just kind of the grassroots punk style band. I was the opposite. I loved the giant rock gods, like Kiss.
Yeah.
And Zeppelin.
I still loved all that. Don't get me wrong.
Oh no, I understand what you're saying. But
I had it both. I I was discovering these new bands who today we know are all killers. The Clash and the Police. I saw the Police 40 people.
Yeah, I saw the Police on the Ghost in the Machine tour, Cow Palace. They were fantastic, man.
So that was later.
Yeah, that's 82, 81. I don't know. I was probably a sophomore or something. I don't know.
Was the Specials opening up?
I couldn't even tell you the opener was. But they played Cow Palace, Ghost in the Machine, and that record was phenomenal. I also saw The Clash 3 times, but it was once it was peaking, on the Combat Rock.
Yeah.
Combat Rock. I saw them at the US Festival.
Right.
I think that was their last gig as the original guys.
Right. I think you're right.
I remember the manager came out. He was like, we're not going on until they fucking pay us in cash. That was their thing. And it was waited an hour for him to get the money together. And then they came out and played. That was gangster. Steve Wozniak.
Yeah.
Just think how cool that is back then, man. I mean, I had Rudy Sarzo on. He fucking played that. And he's on my couch, and I was in the audience. It was 104. I remember I had a Hawaiian T-shirt. Some chick stole it. I was on mushrooms, cruising around, and I got 3-degree burns on my shoulders. There's just no trees out there, just sun.
Where was it?
It was out there where the Irvine amp or whatever. It's 15 and the 10.
Oh, 15 and the 10.
It's an outdoor.
Irvine. That's Irvine's the other way. How long have you been in Los Angeles?
No, not Irvine. What's it called? Glenella. Yeah, I'm sorry.
San Bernardino.
Yeah, I don't like it out there, so I don't know.
Irvine's on the ocean. San Bernardino's quite a ways inland.
It's all the same to me past the Staples Center. It's just a wasteland. You know what I mean? When people go, I moved to L.A., and you go, where are you? And they go, I'm in, I don't know,
Downey.
Brea.
Yeah.
And you go, what?
Yeah, Brea. Now, Brea is out. Yeah. Only reason I know where Brea is at because Fender's there. But you wouldn't, where is Brea? I wouldn't be able to drive you there right now.
Yeah, it's I know all the spots now because I do comedy.
Yeah.
So I know this fucking area like the inside of my head.
Well, you don't know the difference between Irvine and San Bernardino, so
Well,
I would beg to argue with you.
I'm
right
trying to remember rock stories, man. It's
Right.
like when you start to thinking of where I was just out there. I went out there and I walked over the dirt hill. I shot a video of me, the exact path you walked up into the US Festival, and the hill was still there. It's like worn out. And you walked up this dirt, you camped down on the campground, and then you went over the hill, and there it was, just this fucking US Festival, man. You know, rock. They had a Ferris wheel, and that was about it. And then the rest was just sun.
Yeah.
It was brutal. But, oh, man, I tell you what, I never forgot it.
Yeah.
Right now, if I see clips from it, I just go, fuck yeah.
Well, I mean, that was kind of my experience seeing Led Zeppelin at the Kingdom.
Yeah, what year? 77?
77.
Let's talk about that, because Zeppelin's, there's only 3 bands I really didn't see. Zeppelin, Skynyrd, and, of course, some of the early stuff.
And I will tell you how my experience at Led Zeppelin in 77 equated to my experience last year when Seattle Seahawks played your San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah.
Shall I begin?
Yeah.
It's 1977. I'm 12.
Yeah.
We get Zeppelin's going to play the Kingdom, which was kind of a new building at that point. I think Aerosmith had played there. There's a couple shows there. Awful sounding place, but you don't care. You're 12, and Led Zeppelin's going to come play.
Yeah, you never think about the sound, right?
No.
Not at all.
Tickets are $10. I had a paper out. I got a ticket. We waited in line and got the tickets. And then we got down to the show like at 8 in the morning. You know, waited in line so you could get in there
Front
first.
row?
Well, we got in 100 level.
Right.
And, I hope my kids aren't listening. But we snuck pot in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And everybody snuck pot in.
Of course. 77.
Yeah.
Colombian.
And you're 12, right?
Yeah.
So this whole experience is just that, waiting in line just seeing all the people and like chicks who are 18 or whatever.
Yeah, it's like Almost Famous.
It was kind
see
of
those
like that.
girls, and you're like, whoa, girls, they got boobs, right? You're like, whoa, boobs.
Yeah, they're kind of forward, and you're 12.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, but then Led Zeppelin came on, and it was we got seats, but there was the 100 level, front row 100 level, because we were there at 8 in the goddamn morning.
Yeah.
And we knew every Zeppelin. We had bootlegs of Zeppelin. We had everything Led Zeppelin. And the show, as I remember, it was just spot on, amazing. John Bonham's solo was so long. Like, we smoked a bowl. I went and got a hot dog, waited in line for the hot dog, and came back and smoked another bowl, and he was still doing his drum solo. But I never had an event to equate that Led Zeppelin experience I had when I was 12. Like, no matter how many shows I've played, because you're playing them, it's not the same experience.
Yeah.
I've seen some great shows, but it's still... And then when last year when the Niners played the Seahawks in the playoffs, the game was so intense, and the crowd it was kind of like that Led Zeppelin crowd, like everybody was in it together.
Yeah.
I know you hate to hear this, but I wrote a thing for NFL.com about it. Like,
yeah.
Like that gig, that Led Zeppelin gig, it seemed like the whole crowd, 70,000 people, was in the, like, we knew we were experiencing something together. There was no fights. There was no anything.
Yeah.
It was like this, everybody was on the same sort of cloud. And that Seahawks game last year, 4th and 17 or whatever, Russell Wilson hit Jermaine Kearse, right?
Yeah.
And it was that whole crowd there just knew they were seeing something, and I finally, this is the only thing event that's equated to my Led Zeppelin experience.
Wow, that's crazy.
And afterwards, they just legalized pot. So I walked out of the what is it?
The venue?
The stadium.
What is the stadium
called? They keep changing the
I know, they changed names on these stadiums.
It's called the Clink.
I just call all my stadiums the old ones. Candlestick.
Right.
Fuck that. It is what it was.
Okay, so I walked out of the Kingdom.
Exactly.
And there was weed smoke everywhere. And the cops, and like nobody was fighting.
Yeah.
Because it was weed. People were going to bars, but other people were just out in front of smoking weed.
Yeah.
Like,
You smoke weed now?
I don't smoke weed.
No?
No, I don't do anything.
He's happy for the podcast or for real?
For real?
Yeah,
No. I don't.
No, I'm just asking. I can't smoke weed. It's too fucking strong. I take a hit, man. I feel like I'm dying. Like I'm shitting my pants and my breathing. That shit is way too strong, man.
Yeah.
I smoked some angel dust about 10 years ago, 12 years ago by accident, at a Motorhead concert.
What does that do to you?
Oh, man. You don't want to fuck with that.
Never tried.
But some of this weed feels that strong.
Yeah.
I
saw Cat Williams on his HBO special, and he was talking about some new... I haven't smoked weed, dude, since I was a teenager.
Let me tell you what angel dust is like.
Okay.
I'm backstage, and it's Motorhead. And a guy lights up this joint, and I don't party at all. You know what I mean? But he handed it over to me. The band's getting ready to go on. I don't want to be like, I don't want to be that guy. So I was like, fuck it, I'll take a hit, Motorhead. I'm not like sober guy. I just don't party anymore.
Right.
I took a hit. I blew it out, and I go, hey, man, that tastes like lemon pledge. It tasted like someone sprayed lemon pledge in my mouth. And the guy goes, oh, mate, that's the Crazy Eddies.
The what?
Crazy Eddies. And I go, Crazy Eddies? And he goes, yeah, the angel dust. And I go, I just look at him like, this guy's lying, right? I just laugh for a minute, and I cruise away. And I swear, 5 minutes later, they go, the band's on. You guys got to get out. And I'm walking down those stairs. They come on, and this is all I remember. They're playing normal, but that's what it sounds like to me. And I can't move. It's like my feet are steel and the floor's magnets. And I go, I got to get the fuck out of here. And it felt like
Did you have your motorcycle?
Well, here's the classic. It felt like an hour to get out of there, to walk to the back. I get outside, and I get in the back seat of this car that I think's mine. Uh-huh. I don't even have a car. And now I'm thinking of those movies where guys are jumping off overpass. My mind is fucked. Lasts like 7 fucking hours, man. That shit was orange, like the sky. I was looking out the window.
Hey, where's the fun in that?
None. I don't get it. Dudes smoke that shit all the time in the ghettos, Like you see that Training Day, you want to get wet.
Yeah.
It's like, I think that's for guys. I was always the opposite. I always like to go up.
Mm-hmm.
Speed, coke, booze.
Yeah.
I never was into like full down. Matter of fact, I didn't even know about the pill scene until I moved to Hollywood in 2002 or so. San Fran people aren't pill people. It's more like
I think these days there's pill people everywhere.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. You're right. But like when I got here, it was really like, hey man, can you get any Vicodins? I was like, what? What for? You know what I mean? It was really weird to me. So I never got into pills, and probably the reason I never really got into heroin was I liked to be up. Coke was my thing. First it was booze, and then I would get the Coke to steer it out so I could keep drinking.
Yeah, those pills, they'll personal experience, they'll fuck you up. Man.
Yeah, they'll grab you, right?
They'll grab. That's exactly right.
Were you doing pills in the early days? Like Seattle was pills. When I was up there, Seattle had pills. They were into fucking oxys, heroin, everything.
Well, I think here's the deal. I think like when guys our age grew up, like we're talking about the old punk rock days. And we're talking about the 70s. Yeah. We're talking about the early 80s. And I just... I wrote that book that came out a couple of years ago, and I was doing book signing, like book talks and stuff, and there was guys coming up to me who were my age, and they're like, yeah, man, I had the same experience, like drugs really early.
Me too.
Quaaludes in middle school and Coke in middle school.
Right,
and I'm looking at my kids like, nobody does that, But our age group, and then some guy came up to me and goes, man, don't you remember cannabinol? I'm like, I totally remember cannabinol, which is a horse tranquilizer. Yeah. We did that stuff in the 8th grade. So I don't know what it was with our age group, but there wasn't big kind of warning signs. There was just stuff around.
It just seemed rock and roll, right?
We just
I remember I would just be like 12 years old, and this chick drove us to school, 8-track, and she'd just be rocking Nugent, Cat Scratch Fever, and smoking weed and driving us to school. Yeah. And that was just standard. Everybody had those pot leaf belt buckles, and you had the Stoned Again posters, and all the blacklight posters, and drugs just were like they weren't looked upon as like addiction. They were just they were illegal, so you just kind of did them in the tree fort or whatever. Yeah. You know what I mean?
But that's right. But you're exactly right.
But they were everywhere, man. Yeah. I mean, 5, 6 of my friends dealt massive amounts of drugs, and that was a standard weekend. We'd drive around the city, hit keg parties. They would dump blow at all these parties, and speed and stuff, and then we would just party all weekend. Like that's what we did.
Yeah, I remember like ordering Black Beauties out of the back of a mega, like High Times.
Yeah, remember those?
Yeah, I don't know if it was real speed or whatever it was, but we ordered them, sold them.
I snorted Black Beauties and made my nose fucking just drain with blood. Yeah, it's just like
it was like a San Francisco guy that came down. His name was Adam. Back in the like 80 when guns started.
Yeah,
and he always had money, and he must be a drug dealer. He was a friend of a friend, and he gave me a line of coke one night, and it wasn't coke; it was crystal meth.
Yeah,
and God, that burns your nose, and it's awful.
Yeah.
And I was up for like 3 days off a little line of crystal meth.
I think I like the burn the most on crystal meth.
The burn's just like, whoa, you grab it like a vice in your, grabbing your temples.
I got a funny story on some crystal meth. I did a live record at the Fillmore, and Mark Ford was in the band. I put together like a super group. And before we went on, he said, hey, man, you know anybody with some chilly weather? And I was like, chilly weather? And that was his code for coke. I said, I don't know.
Chilly weather.
Isn't that a great word? Wow. I've never heard them all. Yeah. I thought I heard them all, I mean. So I go, I don't know, maybe that guy over there. So the guy comes over and whips out a key, gives Mark a bump, and he's like, and his eyes start draining. And they announce us. We're on stage at the Fillmore, sold out. His eyes are pouring. After the show, he plays the show of his life.
Yeah.
After the show, I said, man, you fucking killed it. And he goes, yeah, it's probably better that was speed because it smoothed out the mushrooms. I was like, what the fucking guy just played a killer gig on mushrooms and speed.
I got to say, I remember taking a lot of mushrooms, and it could enhance. I don't condone any of this stuff because I know what it did to me eventually.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, I talk drugs out in the open, and I think one of the things that drew me to your band was the out of controlness of it.
Yeah.
Because the danger, I always say thousands of times a year, there's no danger in rock. I was there when that fucking record dropped, and I remember the complete change of the landscape of Hollywood. It became these parties we would be at were radical, and they would go for days, and it was all rock.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And I don't knock drugs, and I don't say do them, but I say without them, I would have never experienced half my life of what I did.
Right. I mean, there's people out there who can do drugs and drink and not do it the next day.
That's
and they're
right.
Fine.
Yeah.
And I never was one of those people. Like, I'm unfortunately from a gene pool.
Yeah.
That
addiction in your family.
It's like you said. It sticks, man.
Yeah.
It grabs you, and So,
you know, with me, like drugs were never a thing I would do. Just wake up and do. They were always associated with rock with me.
Yeah.
And it was like it was almost like badge medals. Like 3 days we rocked and we wrote this record and we recorded it. You know, it was just part of it.
Yeah.
I never sat around and went, we got to get some coke and hit this house.
No.
Right?
No. Yeah, I was never a quote unquote drug guy.
Yeah,
that wasn't my. But it was kind of part and it was around. You wouldn't go out first thing in the morning, wake up and go, okay, well today I'm going to get some coke and I'm going to get some these other things because tonight you'd never plan it like that.
Never.
It would just things would happen in front of you. And
let's talk about you moved to L.A.
Yeah,
from Seattle. You're here how long before you joined Guns N' Roses?
Well, I moved. I stopped in San Francisco on the way down because I had all my punk rock buddies there. I had like $360 when I hit San Francisco. I left. I'd spent like, I think $100 or $200 of that. So
Right.
I ended up in LA with $160.
Now, what are you going to LA for? Are you
Don't
going
know.
because you know the scene's big? Because what's happening at that time? It's Motley Crue, it's Quiet Riot, that stuff.
Wasn't my scene at all.
Right.
So I'd been punk rock bands, but by '84, punk rock was over. Punk rock was dead.
Right.
That first wave, there's kind of been all these suburbanite kids shaving their heads and coming in and beating up. You know, it was just like a.
Right. You're talking about the Fear, Dead Kennedys.
No, I loved Fear and Dead
No, I'm
Kennedys.
saying all that once it starts to fade away.
Yeah.
Right.
So there was a bunch of kids like me, like, what's next? Whatever's next is going to be us.
Yeah.
And I moved to Hollywood, got a job.
But what's making you go to Hollywood? Because
Because the heroin had come into Seattle so hard that I didn't really have a choice. It was either New York or L.A., and if I wanted to do music, there was no choice.
So you wanted to get the fuck out of there because of heroin back then.
Yeah. It really decimated my little scene.
Yeah.
The guys I played with, my girlfriend, the guy I lived with, like everybody. And some friend of mine said one night, he said to me, if you don't get out now, you're kind of like our hope as a
Right.
musician.
Now, are you doing any dope at the time?
No.
Right.
So I was drinking, but I had a job. I had an apartment. I had the whole thing, and music was what I was going to do,
Right.
no matter what. And Seattle just wasn't panning out to be the place. It was home, but I had to make a move, and I was 19. I was at the right age
Yeah.
to do it. So wasn't into the metal scene or I was into whatever we were going to create. I was going to be a part of creating next.
Right.
So
right.
that was the motive, not to go and enjoy a scene. It was to go and create something.
Make
new.
a scene.
Make a scene. So one of the first guys I met was Slash through an ad.
I read you were working at Black Angus. Is that right?
I worked at Black Angus. Yep.
That's
Yep.
hilarious.
Yeah, I was a cook before. I mean, that's what you do. If you're a musician,
When
you're a
you're
cook.
you're either construction,
I did that too.
cook, or you sold toner.
Yep, did that too. Did it all. The trifecta of jobs.
There
I
you
did them
go.
all. But you had to have a job. You had to,
Yeah.
So
Isn't that funny to think about right now? You had to have a job because the things I think about people now when I'm working in comedy, I working my ass off. These guys, they just want to fucking do a couple sets on stage or write 2 songs and play a gig at the Viper Room. And then they're just like, where's my record deal and free money?
right.
They don't even think like, well, you got to have a job first. People don't understand. We were working jobs and then rock
Yeah.
all fucking night and go to work. I was painting houses in Sausalito.
Hell yeah.
Side of house, fucking
Did that
hungover.
too.
Yeah,
I did
right?
that too. Yeah, yeah. You made well. I mean, I wasn't going to move to Hollywood. I did live in my car the first 2 weeks because I didn't have enough money to get an apartment. So I worked at the Black Angus, lived in my car. You get a meal at Black Angus, got the first check. Then I got an apartment in Hollywood, right across the street from where Izzy was moving in, like the same day as I was.
What?
He was moving.
Did you know
across
him?
the street. Nope.
That
But
is that kind of shit is where I prove lightning in a bottle. It's
Yeah.
meant to happen.
But I saw him. I'm like, that guy looks like Johnny Thunder. He looks like one of me.
Yeah.
Like one of my people. And he's probably here for the same reason I am. And it was unspoken. But, Izzy was there to create something new. He wasn't there to join. He didn't move from Indiana to join a scene. And I met Slash through the recycler and ad in a newspaper here in town.
What street did you move on?
Orchid.
Orchid.
Yeah. So that was so. Let's go back and so it's September of '84.
Right.
I didn't know anything about areas.
That's my senior year in high school.
Okay.
I just started.
So I'm a year older.
So you're a year old, okay.
Right.
Yeah, your birthday's 2 days after mine.
Okay.
I'm the 3rd, you're the 5th.
So, but what happened? There was the Summer Olympics of '84.
Oh, in
here
LA.
And I guess they cleaned out Hollywood and cleaned out all the hookers, took all the homeless down to Orange County or something ridiculous.
Yeah,
Did you ever hear about this?
No, but what I wanted to ask you about that, what people don't understand, Hollywood in the 80s, like you wouldn't even go, I live in Beechwood now, you would not go on Hollywood Boulevard from the Chinese Theater to Gower.
I got mugged.
There's no fucking way.
I worked down on Bronson, so I had to walk that every day.
Shit.
Yeah. And it was gnarly. I got mugged, like me.
Yeah. They got no street lights down there, and that's when crack is hitting real hard.
Yeah.
And you had these crack zombies, and there was hookers everywhere.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe how many hookers were in Hollywood.
And the cops had just vacated Hollywood. So that's September. They just left and just kind of a couple street lights worked in Hollywood, like you're saying.
Yeah.
And that's about it. It was just it was chaos, anarchy, drug dealing, fights, people walking down the street with baseball bats. And that's where I moved to. And Izzy moved across the street from me. But we had our little street. And
what was your rent? You remember?
Oh, my rent was $200 a month.
Yeah, and just a studio?
Studio.
Awesome.
No kitchen. Yeah.
Awesome.
It had a hot plate and a lot of cockroaches, tons of cockroaches. You get so used to them that you can't do anything about them. So you feel them crawling over you at night. It's like fuck, you just get used to it, you know?
Man, I love that because can you imagine a band now moving here and having cockroaches walk on them? No fucking way.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You got to sleep and.
I remember you'd flick the light on and you would hear them. They'd go shh.
Amazing.
They would run. You could actually hear their fucking feet move. You know?
I would roll up weeklies and just go to warfare with these roaches, thinking they're not going to keep coming back if I just keep decimating hundreds of them, because there would be hundreds.
Yeah.
You turn on the light, it's just like, whoa.
It's so
gross.
gross.
Would be black with cockroach, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of ghetto birds flying over, a lot of, but yeah, so met Izzy and Slash and Axel lived right around the corner. He was Izzy's friend. You know, they already have GNR kind of a little bit in. They got another bass player. So they kind of, like Izzy had been in. It turns out Izzy and I had played a gig together like 3 years before. I was in the Fastbacks, and he was in a band called Naughty Women, and then we played at what was the place in Hollywood?
Madame Wong's?
No, down underneath. Cathay de Grand.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Yeah,
Fuck.
we had played there. I was on. I had toured. I'd been to L.A. before.
Right? Yeah, of course. You're playing music.
Yeah, and so we had played on the same bill. He played drums, dressed as like cross-dresser. Like Naughty Women were all cross-dressing.
And they were from Indiana?
No, he had come out here because he's a
first time
drummer too.
Right.
And he played in this kind of punk rock, kind of like the Dictators.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
And anyhow, so we all met, and eventually the five of us got in a room and started playing. And I played with Axel and Izzy and a couple other guys first. Was like the original Guns N' Roses.
And what songs at the time are in GNR?
They had Don't Cry,
Don't Cry,
Think About You, Reckless Life, and
Reckless Life,
like Back Off Bitch. I think.
Yeah, Back Off Bitch.
Yeah.
I think I got some early demos. They're kind of funky. You know, they had those songs on there.
Yeah. And there was a couple, like, when I first saw Axl, he was in LA Guns. And Slash took me to see them at the Troubadour. Complete culture shock for me, going to the Troubadour. And I mean, Hollywood was a culture shock for me.
Because the rock was starting to boom?
I had short blue hair.
Yeah.
And here it was like, it was the posters everywhere. Bands did not have each other's back. In Seattle or San Francisco, other places, like, you'd share gear, you'd play gigs together, you'd share a van.
This shit was competition.
It was competition.
You put a flyer up, a guy flyered over your flyer.
Yeah.
Remember Flyer Wars?
Yeah.
And everybody was like, fuck that. And it was just this, these are my chicks, and this is, we're the best band ever.
Best band ever. There was all of that. And
yep.
To me, it was funny, you know, that I saw the humor in it. And it was a head scratcher, too. And as a result of all of that competition, I think Guns N' Roses, we weren't part of any scene. And we just became our own little club, you know. And we had like 4 or 5 friends. these guys from New York, and it was us. And all those flyer wars and all that stuff, we just kind of made it known that you don't want to flyer over our flyers.
Now, when you see Axl in LA Guns, do you see the actual fucking magnitude of him at the time? Because I remember seeing him.
I never saw a guy sing like that before. In the first rehearsal we did together, he and I and Izzy and the other two guys who didn't remain in the band, he got up on this little stage at a rehearsal place and tested out the PA, and I heard two voices come out at the same time, like a low.
Yeah.
And he had this kind of harmonic other voice, and I'd never heard anything like that before. So, yeah, he was definitely had some, of course.
Right. I mean, he's like, when I saw the first time, I just thought Nazareth.
Yeah.
He wasn't doing that low voice when I saw him.
Yeah.
And then when Appetite comes out, I'm all, oh, shit, they got two singers now.
Yeah, right.
That's what I seriously thought the day I bought it. I remember I went down to this place, bought it, and I put it in, and we were drinking these big Mexican drinks called Bolo drinks. They're like $10, and they put like every booze on the planet, and you just drank that to get going. And we were rocking it in the Mexican bar. They put it on for us, and I go, oh, fuck, they got another singer.
Right.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I remember, though, and this is why I'm asking you, I was at a party, and we were in this room, and we were doing coke, and we were playing it, and there was a guy there, and he listens to this podcast, and I said, this band will be the biggest band ever. And he's all, fuck that. And he goes, you can have my tape. And they gave me a cassette of the EP. Oh. I had it on vinyl, but he gave me the cassette. He goes, you can have mine. I'm into you, too. I never forgot it.
I was into U2 then.
I was too, but he was way into like The Cure, U2. That thing was going on at the time. Chicks smoking cloves.
There's probably not a lot of those cassettes running around.
Fuck, I wish I had it right now. I have most of my GNR stuff, almost about 99% of it.
Yeah, I never was a guy to hold on to stuff. And
that's what he said, but I saw a photo recently. You found some shit?
Found some stuff. There was
you had a flood or whatever, and you found.
Yeah, there was and the woman that comes and cleans our house once a week. She's like, "Oh, there's some boxes that got damaged. Sorry, there's some stuff and there's some pictures." And I'm like, what? And it was a box full of really cool, all the tour books.
I saw that.
All my original laminates.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's weird that you even had laminates because it's like you were just loaded the whole time.
No, we had like this is. I'm talking the Appetite tour when we.
Oh wow.
We made our own laminates.
Yeah.
Nobody knew who we were.
Yeah,
so
you're right.
It was a cutout cassette cover.
Yeah, that's how I made it.
With our pictures on it laminated.
That's how I used to sneak in shows. So I'd cut the cassette cover off, laminate it with my picture on the back, and just roll right into shows.
Right.
Full access. Fucking meeting them all back in the day.
Yeah, that's great.
So anyway, the reason I was asking you about Axl was, and I did think it was going to be the biggest band. I think without that band, I would probably be dead because it pursued me into a serious mode of music. Before I was playing metal, and I was into Accept and Maiden and Saxon and all that, and playing keg parties and shit. But once I hear this record, I envision the entire Hollywood thing. I'd been to Hollywood a bunch the year before. The crew was hitting and stuff, but nothing like this. Felt more of like, oh, these are the guys I'm into.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, just kind of felt biker. It felt drugs. It felt, it felt street urchin. Mm-hmm. And I mean, the magnitude is insane. To think about how fucking badass it was in that era. It was just rock.
Yeah.
So you see him and you guys start gigging. I had Mark Cantor on the show.
Yeah.
And he shot like all the shows.
Yeah.
Those early photos are amazing, right? Now,
yeah, so we had that guy that, is Slash's best friend. And you have those guys who see a lot more in your thing than you do.
Yeah.
And Mark was just convinced we're talking, there's two people at our show. And Mark's one of them. He's like, you guys are going to be huge. He would take pictures of everything, keep every
document it all.
Like, this guy's kind of a little nuts, but he's great,
Yeah.
And He would loan us the money because he owned part of Canners. Even
Yeah.
then, he'd loan us like $200 so we could make flyers and we could pay for lights because you have to pay for lights and PA.
Yeah, remember that?
shows.
I forgot about that. Back then,
Yeah.
you had to rent the PA and lights if you played the Troubadour.
Yeah.
You remember that?
So he'd loan us the money. We'd go out and sell the tickets. First thing we did was pay him back. But we'd have flyers. At least we could make flyers when we do all that. And still this day, owe it to Mark. You know, he just believed in the band, trusted us that we'd pay him back every time we did. So, but you get that band was, I gotta say, you know, the thing was really, it was real. You know, we did live under the poverty level.
Yeah.
And when you're together, dudes in a tough place like Hollywood was then, it was tough. And there was there were a lot of, you know, fight your way in, fight your way out, and not a lot of food, and you're just used to it. You're living actually sort of, I mean, it's pretty exciting. You're used to, I was used to it from coming up playing punk rock shows and all of that stuff. Like, do you know where you're going to sleep tonight? Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know,
It doesn't matter when you're that age either, right? Because you're just like, you're just so into what you're doing.
Yeah.
And if you have 4 other guys on the same page, no one can stop you.
Nobody can
If you
stop
have a
you, yeah.
couple fucking shitty flat tires in the band, it's going to be hard. But when you got the guys on the same page and you walk, it's like that scene in Saturday Night Fever where they walk into the disco and Travolta goes, "Hey, man, fucking get your shit together. We're the faces." And they walk in and everyone looks at them.
Yeah.
There's that, like you said, it's a gang feeling of like, fuck, there they are.
And I think that going back to that hitchhiking trip we did, that's the trip that we knew we didn't have, as you said, a couple dead wheels.
Yeah,
Like,
because
we were
they're all in.
We're all in. Nobody said, "I'm screw hitchhike 1,100 miles."
Yeah.
No,
Right?
We're all in, and that really kind of solidified the thing. So yeah,
As you're playing your first gigs, when can you tell that it's starting to hit? Because I always talk about this. I said I played music 25 years, but I can tell when a band is hitting on all cylinders where everyone's liking them. The girls are coming, then the dudes are coming, and then the casual fans are coming because it's something hot. When could you tell?
well, when we had a different audience. Like once we started drawing more than 3 people, when we started, it was punkers, it was rockers, and it was girls from the valley or whatever.
Yeah.
So we had like the 3 elements that no other band. We had 2 more elements than any other band had, and the Troubadour, all these places started to really like us because our audience drank a ton,
Oh, yeah.
and like these punkers and these rockers and these girls were all getting along, and you'd see them all coming to your gig, coming back. These same groups of people, and it started to meld together, and I think that's when I noticed like something was cool and different about us, that we reached all these different kind of audiences, and we weren't one thing in particular. And
Now, early on,
I
Axel,
think the first time we sold out the Troubadour, or sold out, I mean, to me that was a huge deal. We sold out.
yeah.
You go to the Troubadour, it's not very big. You know, nowadays it's like going back to
Yeah, I was there Friday night. It seemed huge when you're a kid, right?
It's like going back to your elementary school. It's so small. You know?
Yeah.
But the Troubadour, like selling out the Troubadour as a bunch of guys from outside of this city came in and formed a band, wrote songs, and you sold out the world famous Troubadour. It was a big deal.
Yeah. It was a big deal. And you're not doing pay to play anymore.
Yeah, no.
And now all of a sudden
You're getting paid.
You're getting paid.
Yeah.
And you're playing music and you don't even need that much money. You know, you're like, hey, here's $200. You go, fuck yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, how long together before you get the record deal?
It's a good question. Well, before we got the record deal,
Because I know for a long time no one's signing you, right? They're coming around and they're not getting it.
we probably got our deal within a year. I think all of that, a year and a half.
Yeah,
Depending on when you count when we started.
exactly.
Yeah.
I started thinking today, back if you look at it now, if you didn't have a deal in 2 years, it was done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you really looked at it, because everybody...
Well, we weren't looking for... I swear, a deal wasn't even... Like, we were so different. I thought, well, we just got a killer band.
Yeah.
Like, that was good enough. It was the first killer band where every guy in the band was kick-ass. And the songs... We were writing those songs, and the songs were great. And that was good enough. We were building up an audience, and we were offered some little deal early on, and we said, nah.
Yeah.
So turning down a record deal,
yeah,
kind of cool.
Who's managing? Vicky Hamilton at the time?
No, maybe
Yeah.
she was hanging out. Yeah, there was another girl who managed Jet Boy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
There were some people around, but we didn't really need a manager at that point. And but then the kind of the majors started coming around to the gigs, and Geffen and Chrysalis, and then real deals started to get tabled. And then that's another story. Then that you hit another plateau, you find out that the labels will take you to lunch.
Yeah. Let's talk about that, because I've been I tell
it's
people
always at the Hamburger Hamlet.
Hamburger Hamlet, is that where it was?
Like free food and as many cocktails as we want.
Right.
Why would we sign a deal? So we played that up for I think it was a good month.
Now, would the whole band go to the meetings?
Hell yeah, we would.
And I love that, right? Like, hey man, free food. Like, it's a big deal. A $6 hamburger, but about 10,000 in drinks.
And you'd get your buzz on for you could start your night would start at noon.
Yeah, right.
Because you get free cocktails. But we rode that out for a little while, and then we just kind of more interested in.
I remember Brian Slagle. I had him on, and he said he saw you guys and didn't sign you, Metal Blade.
Oh,
and he's like, biggest mistake ever, because he saw it, he's like, I don't know, and then
there was
that's
a lot of that. I mean, it was just so different. I think that even Geffen kind of Tom Zutaut just believed in the band, and if you look at what was going on in popular music at that time, we weren't even close to the style of music that was out there. It'd be like signing Fear right now. Fear was a new band.
Yeah.
We're going, well, popular radios can be playing this in 2 years. Bullshit.
Like Fear. Yeah. I mean, when you hear like the lyrics too, you're like, well, this isn't even going to get on the radio.
No.
We're talking about the spill off of PMRC in the early 80s, and everybody's like worried about your cover got banned.
Yeah.
Your lyrics are all about, they have fuck and drug references, Yeah.
So the guy from Metal Blade or whoever, it's probably like, well, jeez,
Yeah.
And we weren't metal, and we weren't glam rock, and we weren't punk rock. So what is this band? But there were some people out there that kind of saw the bigger picture, and we believed in our band no matter what, if we got signed or not. And with Geffen, we found the deal that kind of gave us the most freedom within the deal to pick.
That's amazing too, right? Because Geffen's pretty new at the time.
It was either that or we weren't going to sign.
Yeah.
So.
Whose choice was it for the Robert Williams cover?
Axl found a postcard on Melrose.
Yeah.
And he brought it back to our rehearsal. He's like, check this out. This is gnarly. And it had the name. I mean, that was the name of the painting.
Yeah, exactly.
It was kind of all there.
It was all there. And then you contact Robert Williams and ask for the rights to do it. It's crazy because...
We didn't know about rights. So the Geffen did.
Yeah.
And Geffen, I don't know how stoked they were about it. I think Zutaut was into it. It was better, there was talk at the beginning of the album cover being the space shuttle blowing up.
Oh, no shit. Whose idea was that?
This was this is only like a year after it happened.
Yeah.
And the country was still in shock and mourning. And it was like the most Sex Pistols punk rock thing.
Yeah, just a fuck you, like right out of the gate.
Yeah. So, like Led Zeppelin, we thought, well, it's like a Led Zeppelin cover, It's Hindenburg, it's our Hindenburg of our age.
That's funny, right? Because if you put it in that perspective, they put it on, and the lady that invented her family that invented the Hindenburg were like, get that off.
Yeah.
They were so embarrassed,
Yeah.
But
so it wasn't making fun of his death, but it was like our tragedy of our age.
Yeah. I think because it's astronauts, and they're looked at as like heroes, and the other one was just like rich people in a luxury liner. You know what I mean? Yeah. Astronauts are completely untouchable.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it was an idea anyhow.
Right.
Yeah.
It's funny because I think about another thing with Guns N' Roses with me was that got me into that style of art. You know, all of a sudden I meet Robert Williams. I'm going to his art shows. The paintings back then are like $3,000. I'm seeing Mark Ryden paintings for $7,500, and Todd Shore. And I'm into this whole scene, and going to these gallery shows. And those paintings are millions of dollars now. I saw recently. I was in. This is funny. I went to Barrett Jackson 5 years ago, and they were auctioning the cars. And they had a special rock memorabilia room, and they were auctioning off the Appetite for Destruction painting, the real one. The owner wanted to sell it.
Painting?
Yeah, at Barrett Jackson. And I was stunned. It was like the Mona Lisa to me, how small it was.
Oh,
I was like, whoa, it's fucking small. And there it was, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, if I had any amount of money right now, that would go to my house.
How much? What did they?
I don't know. Remember what it. It was an auction at Barrett Jackson like 5-6 years ago, but it was strange to be at this car auction, and then they had a special rock area. For some reason that year they were doing guitars in another section, and there it was,
Yeah.
But that got me into that whole art thing, man. It was like weird.
Cool. It's cool.
Yeah, it is cool. So you guys signed the deal. Is it $1 million deal back then?
No.
Well, what is the deal? Because people were getting $1 million deals back then, like they were nothing.
No, we got a small deal. It was like $200,000,
$200,000,
$225,000 or something. And that's in a day when Mutt Lange wouldn't walk into a studio without getting $500,000.
Yeah, right, and like 5 points.
Yeah, so we didn't even have enough money out of the bat to get a Mutt Lange if we wanted to.
Yeah, because I was curious why you went with Mike Klink, because
we had to look for somebody in our budget, I suppose, and Klink. We looked at people. I won't name all the people we looked at, but there was people, and Mike Klink came up. He was an engineer. We heard that he knew how to get the sound of your band on the tape.
So did he work with the Cold? Did he do the Cold or something?
No, he did like weird, like Triumph. Nothing like us.
Wow.
So he was really in the back burner, like, well, this guy Triumph, But he came down to a rehearsal. He set up a reel-to-reel 8-track, set up some mics, put in headphones, and said, "Okay, guys, play your set." And we did, and cool. And he recorded it, and he had some speakers out or something, and he kind of did a little mix, and he played it back, and it was us.
Yeah.
And we had done some test stuff like Spencer Proffer.
Yeah.
On a click track, and things were slowed. We slowed some songs down, and it wasn't
generic.
It wasn't us at all.
Yeah.
And Mike Klink just captured us as we were, with great mic techniques and without anything impeding the sound from the amps and the drums and the voice to the tape. Seems like a simple idea, but that wasn't in the works in the 80s.
No.
A lot of other.
It was like 6 weeks, get drum tones.
Yeah.
Bring in 40 different snare drums.
Put a dynamite sample in with the snare.
Yeah, rather.
They would go out and mic a stick of dynamite and make a sample of that for.
So fucking
snare.
Funny, right? Yeah.
And this was just us, and we played back. We're like, oh my God, that sounds like we hear ourselves. And we instantly said, okay, you're the guy.
Who's got that tape?
Yeah, probably Mike.
How fucking cool would that be to have? You know what I mean? Just like basically pre-production of Appetite.
Yeah.
So where do you do Appetite at? In the Valley here?
Yeah.
Where at?
At the Rumbo. It was Captain Tennille's studio.
Yeah.
And again, it was the right price. Good studio. Trident, ADB board, and
24-track tape.
Mm-hmm.
And how long to track this record?
Were you there, McBob, when we tracked it? You weren't. Yeah. Well, I think we tracked it. I think we had 2 weeks.
Right, 2 weeks.
Kind of do the whole thing. So I know Steven and I, we've been playing those songs a ton. We rehearsed 2 times a day.
Yeah.
So by the time we hit the studio, there was like sometimes it was first takes.
Yeah,
Those basic tracks, 1 and 2 takes, maybe 3, and it was moving on. So we got the basic tracks done pretty quick, a few days.
It's almost amazing that you went with Clink because there's no dated sound of this record.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of 80s records, you put on Pyromania, you go, that's 80s, Hysteria, or like anything back then. The only records that really sound really cool right now are like Colt Electric, because it's all dry. Your record has no dated reverbs on it or delays. So when you put it on right now, it sounds fantastic.
Well, Slash was playing Les Paul, which was a novel idea in 1986.
Yeah, everybody's playing Jacksons with tremolos. I remember Albert at Guitars R Us. He's got like 10 59 Les Pauls, 13 of them right now, because guys would just come in with a 59 Paul and go, I want a Jackson with a Floyd Rose. Here, trade me. And it was a whole different era, you know. He had that BC early on, Slash, that red BC.
Yeah. I think he probably still has it.
Yeah. Right, I saw him play it recently. It was crazy.
That's killer guitar.
Yeah.
I don't think he had anything against all his guitar. That just wasn't his thing. And Les Paul.
Well, he was like a Joe Perry guy.
Les
Joe
Paul
Perry
through
played
Marshall.
BC Rich. He played Les Paul.
Yeah. And Izzy, 335 through Marshall, and just basic stuff. Steven didn't use any. He didn't even have rack toms, So like there was nothing to sample. He's playing a beat. Most he's got is a cowbell.
Yeah, right.
And then Axl's, sort of just really classic, powerful voice.
When you guys do the record, do you dig it?
Yeah.
Because I'm just asking.
That's the first time we heard it's like 24 tracks sounded thick, and I remember getting the basic tracks and Slash guitars before Axl's voice was on, and it was just heavy and meaty. All the riffs sounded right. The solos sounded killer, and it sounded like you hear yourself in your little rehearsal room, in your 8x10 rehearsal. You always sound killer in your spot in your rehearsal room.
Yeah.
It sounded like that, and then Axl sang, and it just really the performance. The first time we'd really heard him, he's always at gigs.
Yeah.
And
shitty PAs and monitors.
Yeah.
Now you got to be tripping because you've got this. When you hear like My Michelle, it's so evil and radical sounding.
And he got to really I think he was, I think for the first time he was comfortable in a recording situation. See, man. In a recording situation to record his voice, and you could tell, he just let it go.
When you were hearing his lyrics, because to me, I think the lyrics are so far beyond anything that was going on. I felt like it was the new Jim Morrison, not in the style and stuff, but more in the danger and the originality of it. When you hear these lyrics.
My favorite lyric always was Captain America's Got a Broken Heart, and that was like that song. I mean, that sums up that the words to Paradise City in the verses.
Yeah,
really sum up sort of what life was like for a 20-year-old if you had any intellect at all and could think about it.
Yeah, like I'm just an urchin living under the street.
Yeah.
When you hear that, I wrote songs, and I know thousands of guys that wrote songs.
Yeah.
And lyrics, you've got these lyrics that I love. Jim Morrison, a lot of people, I love Robert Plant. People are like, oh, he's so fucking Dungeons and Dragons. I love that. Mm-hmm. Whatever style you are, when you hear these lyrics, you just go like, my God, I'm at the Comedy Store 7 days a week, and I hear that record at the Comedy Store now. And when it comes on, I feel from fucking Doheny to La Cienega, you know what I mean? I feel it. It's what was happening. Dukes, Whiskey, the Troubadour, the Rainbow, Cat House, all those fucking garbage dumps and the heat of it, and it's described. And then it closes with Rocket Queen, and you're just like, that's the fucking saga.
Yeah.
That's a Hollywood record in the way the Doors did a Hollywood record.
Well, people did records then, too. It's like what's missing now. When you think about how does this record go from beginning to end?
Yeah.
And how's the middle part? And when you flip over the record, what do you start the second side with?
Yeah.
How do you end the first side? People don't even think in those terms anymore.
Now, were you guys thinking like? Well, I mean, the things around it, like side one's G, side two's R.
Oh yeah, we thought, oh man, because we grew up to records. How are you the first side gonna sound? Like, how's it gonna begin and end? Yeah, and anybody who's probably under 45 listening to this is probably going, what?
Yeah.
Like, what are they talking about? But yeah, we used to. If you made a record, you would think about how the order on each side and how the first side would end and how you would open up the second side of the record and how you would end the whole record and all of the body of work in between that. Does this whole thing tell a story?
Yeah.
Like
Sequencing is a full-blown art.
Totally.
I've sequenced my stuff, records, and it's like editing a film. You move one song, there's three here in the key E. We can't do that. You know what I mean? It all sounds the same. So it's such a fucking art form, right?
But people don't listen. I mean, people. I don't want to generalize, but I know I have 2 teenage kids. They listen to a song by one, a song by somebody else, a song.
Yeah.
Like, don't you want to listen to the rest of that record? Oh, they look at me like, what? What's up, antique?
Yeah,
what are you
right.
talking about?
Yeah, it's back to the 50s, right? Like Buddy Holly, Big Bopper, all that shit. It's just singles.
Yeah, singles, and I guess I'm not saying one's better, worse. We just grew up in a different time when we got to enjoy that whole. I've got a record player back at home now. Fine, I got one like a year and a half ago.
Yeah,
and it's the best. Like going out and buying records, putting a record on.
It's my life now.
It's so killer.
It's my life. You know why? Because it takes the ADD out of listening.
Yeah.
I say it over and over, but you've committed.
Yeah.
I'm putting side one on. I'm going to sit down and listen to this, and then I'm going to go put side two on.
Yeah.
And like last night, I listened to The Wall. I bought The Wall, an original pressing. I got it at Amoeba a few days ago, mint. I put on The Wall, and it's just fucking insane.
Wow.
You know? I mean, the thrill I get from that $20 I spent is beyond anything, man.
Yeah, that's great.
It's way better than a movie these days or anything.
Hey, Dean?
Yeah.
I got to get back to work.
Fuck!
Yeah.
Can we do it? We got to do a part 2.
Okay, we'll do it. We'll do a part 2 when my book comes out.
Fuck, that's in June.
Yeah.
You got a book coming out. When is the book coming out?
We got the Walking Papers coming out.
Oh, God, yeah.
We're here at the Walking Papers.
Yeah, we're at Queens of the Stone Age studio, and you're tracking... what are you tracking here?
We're tracking 16 or 17 songs I've lost track for a new record.
Oh, a new Walking Papers record?
New Walking Papers record.
Got you. And how many pieces
New
the
Walking
band?
Papers joint.
How many... how many pieces the band? 3-piece? 4? 4-piece?
Yeah.
And I heard the singer is great.
Yeah. Jeff Angel.
Yeah. And how'd you find the singer? You found this singer, but you can't find a Velvet Revolver singer.
Jeff, we tried him out for Velvet Revolver
back
in the old days. Back
Dude,
in like 2002 or 3 or whatever that was.
Did you listen to the tracks that I did? Oh, you heard them when we were in there. How funny is that?
You're awesome.
I'm going to put them on this episode. I'll put them on there.
I'm sure you will.
Yeah, no, wait, man. It's not for my glory. It's just people liked it and they want it.
It's for your glory.
It's dude, I'm a comedian now. Hey, you want to come see me at November 8th with Russell Peters at the Nokia Theater?
Sure.
Okay.
I will be here.
Yeah, come bring your kids and your wife, man.
Cool.
It'll be awesome.
Love that.
Man, I could talk to you for hours, you know? We didn't even fucking scratch the surface. I mean, we got into there, but, you know, I wanted to get into stuff like Wes Arkeen.
Oh, man. Okay, part 2.
Yeah, part 2.
Part 2.
Okay, there he is, Duff McKagan. Thanks, buddy.
All right, thanks. All right.
When the sun flies low and the traffic moves slow, you'll begin to see that you're wasting all your time turn a dime that you can never keep. 'Cause I've seen it all before, more than ever more. Time to time with me. Give me someone out there today that isn't pulling my chain, 'cause I'm going insane. Give me someone out there today that isn't pulling my chain, 'cause I'm going insane. Give me someone out there today that isn't pulling my chain, 'cause I'm going insane. Give me someone out there today that isn't pulling my chain, 'cause I'm going insane. You can shake my hand, tell me I'm the man, promise everything. If you're breaking up bones, take away the Jones, you'll be just like me. Give me someone out there today that isn't pulling my chain, 'cause I'm going insane. Give me someone out there today that isn't pulling my chain, 'cause I'm going insane. Give me someone out there today that isn't pulling my chain, 'cause I'm going insane. Give me someone out there today that isn't pulling my chain, 'cause I'm going insane. I'm so sleepy. You got to read between the lines. Read between the someone out there today that isn't pulling my chain, 'cause I'm going insane. Give me someone out there today that isn't pulling my chain, 'cause I'm going insane. Give me someone out there today that isn't pulling my chain, 'cause I'm going insane. Give me someone out there today that isn't pulling my chain, 'cause I'm going insane. Don't you pull my chain. West Coast time.